It's morphin' time!
Hello, this is Soundout here, and we're doing a different type of video today. I think, as we have been going along, the Ultraman releases from Mill Creek started out with high praise and have recently come under a lot of criticism. Justifiably so. If you're looking for a video that's going to rant about the recent quality drops in the Ultraman Mill Creek releases, this isn't it. I'm researching things, thoroughly going through this, and breaking it down so that we can kind of understand maybe if the releases have suddenly dropped off in quality, or if it's been a steady decline, and maybe some of the reasons behind that. Because I think that, entirely speaking, it's not necessarily all Mill Creek's fault. And I think that overall I want to make this kind of an informative video, not so much trying to sway you into buying the Ultra releases or not buying the Ultra releases, but giving you more information to work on your own individual personal preference. Because I think at the end of the day, that's kind of the best way to approach this. Because I could go like, oh, the Ultraman 80 DVD set sucks, don't anyone buy it. But there are people that do want to own Ultraman 80 on DVD, and, well, I don't want to discourage you, but I'd like you to know what you're getting into. So without further ado, we're going to start with our talking points, beginning with the history of Mill Creek themselves. So Mill Creek Entertainment's been around since about 2002, and they have been prominent in the home video release space for both DVDs and now Blu-rays, but they've always been seen as a budget company. And that's not to say it's a bad thing. They get to release stuff that most companies don't want to put up with. They've had licensors from Sony, Buena Vista Productions, just different kinds of companies will come to them and be like, alright, we don't want to do this ourselves, you want to just put it out there. I know they started with mostly public domain films in like big old multi-packs, but I think they've kind of evolved to have their own rhyme or reason to what they release. They typically go for stuff that isn't commonly released and stuff that people want, but studios don't want to invest a lot of money into. For example, Mill Creek in the past, typically with my experience, is something like this. The He-Man and Masters of the Universe 2002 series Complete Series DVD set. This is a DVD set that is 4 discs for all 40 episodes of the 2002 He-Man. And it has actually some bonus features on here, including, you know, end of episode morals, 12 audio commentaries, interviews with people that worked on the toy line, as well as PDF scripts and a comic book bonus. So there's a lot packed into this, and this set cost, you know, less than 20 bucks. It was actually pretty affordable. Some of the downsides, however, is the fact that it's only 4 DVDs, which means you have 10 episodes per disc, and they're also stacked on top of each other, which is a scratching risk. And at 10 episodes per disc for a show that's as new as the 2002 He-Man, there's a bad compression rate. You can just tell that the video quality isn't the maximum it could be. The audio is also pretty badly compressed too. But the trade-off is, who else is going to release this? Well, BCI Eclipse, but that's not the point. The point is that Mill Creek put this out, and that was kind of like, you know, it. That was a sort of, here's your release, and no one's done anything with it since. And I think that's just kind of the thing that Mill Creek typically goes for. So I think when it comes to Ultraman, what's also good to remember is the original Ultraman was released by Mill Creek on DVD back in the mid to late 2000s. Several releases were made. It was kind of a weird thing. I don't want to get super into it. Had the English dub and the Japanese version. That was one of those early releases, and it was similar to He-Man here. Stacked discs, only 4 discs for a much longer show. Bad compression rates, but it was cheap, so you kind of went with it. Mill Creek has started to evolve though. For example, they put out recently Mothra on a Steelbook Blu-ray. And this is one of the nicest releases I've ever seen from the company. And I gotta say, it was surprising because I kind of wrote off Mill Creek as like, alright, anything they put out is not going to be great quality. But this is great. It's got the English version, the Japanese version, it's got audio commentary, photo galleries, in a nice Steelbook packaging, and it was like $15. I thought it was like the perfect intersection of quality with price. And honestly, once they did this, when the Ultraman deal was announced, I got a lot more excited. Unfortunately, I don't know if they've been able to keep up that excitement because, well, the subtitles were great on Mothra, well-timed, well lined up. Can't say the same for Ultraman. So let's talk the subtitles on these releases, because as these are Japanese language shows with a couple English dubs thrown in, the subtitles are very important. It's your gateway into understanding the show. And for the most case, with most of these sets, the subtitles are understandable, readable, legible. with a few typos here and there, some that could have been cleaned up with an extra couple passes, but for the most part, they're pretty solid. They're hard to read, however, because they don't have a really good backing on the subtitles, so they sort of blend into the background, especially with the older series. So I gotta say that overall, you know, the discussion of saying like, oh, Gridman subs are terrible, there is a precedent for these subs not being necessarily the highest quality. This isn't, Mill Creek is not an anime company. They don't release anime, they don't do subtitles very often. A lot of this is likely outsourced, but only when needed. Because the thing that you also got to remember is that a lot of Ultra shows were streaming in North America prior to being released on Blu-ray. When you think about it that way, there is most of the releases using new subtitle tracks. But if one previously existed, they tended to use them. And so let's kind of go over that. So first up, first release was Ultra Q. Pretty solid translation track. Ultraman was the next release, and again, seemed like a new translation. It did not seem to reuse the subtitles from the previous Mill Creek DVD, which was nice to see. It was a good trend going forward. Next up was Ultraman Orb. Now, Orb is one of the shows that streamed on Crunchyroll, so Orb's series is the Crunchyroll subs, minus the opening credits and ending credits subtitles. Those were missing, as well as I think the episode previews. So there's some weird exclusions. I don't get why you wouldn't have those subs when the Crunchyroll stream had them, but otherwise the translations are exactly the same. The Orb movie does seem to be a new translation, and actually has inconsistencies with the series translation because of that. Ultraman G, same situation as Orb. Series was definitely the Crunchyroll subs, movie was definitely something new. And honestly, the new subs for the movies are pretty good. Ultra 7 is another one that likely are new subs. They did not seem to be reused from the Shout Factory release, which was licensed under Chaya, which makes sense as the Mill Creek deal is under Tsuburaya properly. We also have Orb the Origin Saga. Now these are new subs because the show wasn't streaming with subs before. However, as the series made for Amazon Prime and a show like Kamen Rider Amazons was brought over to US Amazon Prime as Amazon writers, it does seem likely that maybe there was a subtitle track already available for this because it's not got similar translation tendencies as the other new subs we'll see in the Blu-rays. Return of Ultraman's a weird one. Honestly, the more that I've seen of this, and the more I've looked at some of the translations, they feel like the Hong Kong subs where the dialogue doesn't make any sense most of the time. The Return of Ultraman Hong Kong subs floated around online pretty heavily, so I don't know if it's been copied or if it was just a coincidence, but there's some of the subs in here that are a little weird. Also, the booklet that came with this set had grammatical errors all over the place, and it had to be replaced, so something was weird around the time of Return of Ultraman. Moving forward, X, series Crunchyroll, movie new. Ace, all new subs as far as I can tell. There was Neo Ultra Q was next. This one likely is the Toku HD subs, and I think the Toku HD does get a bad rap in its subtitle quality because of things like Gridman, the Ultraman, Kamen Rider Agito, and Kamen Rider Faiz. I don't know what goes on in that company, but their Neo Ultra Q subs, they aren't bad. Moving forward, we have the Ginga set. Now this is where I started to see a dip in quality. Specifically the fact that this has the most missing content of any set. So we have Ginga and Ginga S, plus the Ultra Victory Fight and the Ginga S movie. It's pretty stacked. Ginga and Ginga S use their Crunchyroll sub-translations. However, there's a couple things to note. First of all, openings and endings aren't subbed, even though they were on Crunchyroll, just like with the other shows. The previews don't have subs, but also the Spark Doll Theater shorts. Whereas the Ultra Capsule and the Ultra Card shorts on Orb and Jeed had subtitles. You get to the Spark Doll shorts, like, there is nothing at the end. Like, once the episode is over, ending credits, preview, Spark Doll Theater, no subs, which is ridiculous because this is supposed to be an English subtitled release. I don't know why those weren't subbed, especially when the subs already existed. And then also adding to that, it does use the rebroadcast theme, Ginga no Uta, as opposed to the original theme song for Ginga, which is something that seemingly could have been corrected, but that could be a music rights issue. But oddly, it includes the Ginga Theater Special, the first one, as an episode. But then it doesn't include the second theater special for Ginga at all. So there's kind of a weird gap with this. I don't know what happened here, but it did seem like they crammed a little too much in here. Ultraman Rube is brand new subtitles all around the board. The show never streamed before, so it was nice to see, and honestly are some of the best subs, especially because this is the only new gen show that has its opening and ending subbed. Odd that it's this one with the new subs when the previous existing they couldn't use. Taro, also solid, probably new subtitles. Leo, maybe the Toku HD subs. They're a little funky. Mega Monster Battle, very likely the Toku HD subs. The movie, though, is possibly, but maybe new. It's kind of hard to tell. The same thing for the Zero Specials and Movies collection. Could be new subs, couldn't be not. Gridman the Hyper Agent is definitely the Toku HD subs, which also streamed on the Ultraman YouTube worldwide briefly before being restricted to certain countries. This was a point of contention. This was enough to get the attention of like Anime News Network. And I think we'll talk about why this was such a big deal later on. And then lastly, the Ultraman uses the Toku HD subs, including the left alignment, which I don't know why subtitles would be left aligned. They're usually center aligned. It's an industry standard. And then lastly, Ultraman 80, likely using the Crunchyroll subs. So when it comes down to it, did the sub quality suddenly drop off? Oh, they're suddenly reusing subs? They've been reusing subs since the beginning. If they previously existed, they were there. Like, they used them for anything from Crunchyroll, anything from Toku HD. It's just unfortunate that two shows in particular, The Ultraman and Gridman, had such terrible subs on Toku HD that they should not have been repeated. And I think that's something to kind of take in general, is that I think that the sets could use from extra editing to take the pre-existing subs and make them a bit better. These are the physical home releases of these shows. They are likely never to get another home release. Okay, maybe these two are not a good example, because if we ever get HD versions, I'm sure a Blu-ray might come. But something like Gridman, this is an upscale already. Subaraya is not doing any HD remastering for this likely, because it's already on Blu-ray. This is it. This is our one shot at it, and it's got the jankiest subs with random cursing, incomprehensible sentences. Like, you can follow the show because it's a simple show, but it's really distracting when kids are throwing out, like, expletives left and right. And I think that's, honestly, a point of contention, and part of why these releases are burning me out. Let's discuss something positive. The presentation of these sets. When you're looking at the Ultraman releases, they look great. The Showa series were released in standard editions or on steelbooks. The standard editions have a connecting spine mural, which looks really, really cool. These shows are presented in very nice, thick plastic cases. As you can see with Taro here, very nice artwork on the front and back. In the case of the Showa series, we have a separate booklet. This booklet contains information on the series, some background historical data, as well as, you know, an overview of the Ultraman of the show, characters, as well as the episodes with descriptions and their episode air dates, and then a kaiju guide in the back. I love the Showa sets. For the more modern shows, the Heisei shows, for example, Rube here, they have a slipcover over a Blu-ray case. Again, really nice packaging art. And then they have a booklet, and this booklet is not as detailed as the Showa booklet with the history information, but it still shows all the forms of the Ultraman, an overview of the kaiju, and then an episode guide with air dates and descriptions. Orb Origin Saga does look very good. Similar situation with the slipcover and the case. However, there is no booklet. Same goes there for Neo Ultra Q, as well as the Mega Monster Battle set and the Zero set. It's just kind of a shame that these didn't have them when the other New Generation and Heisei shows did. And then also recently, with the advent of DVD, which we'll talk about in a bit, for example, the Ultraman, still that nice packaging presentation, and he still does come with a booklet. The unfortunate part is that this booklet is pretty bare bones, as it is just an episode guide. Now, something else that should be noted is that up until Ultraman Leo, every series contained a digital code to redeem on Mill Creek's Movie Spree. Movie Spree recently has just kind of blipped out of existence. I think it still technically exists, but you can't make a new account on the site, you can't download the app, and there's nowhere to redeem codes. And then on top of that, after Leo, the Zero sets don't contain digital codes. They don't even mention them. And so the value is a little lessened, even though things are still at a very low price. But it is kind of interesting, they made such a big deal about Movie Spree, and essentially if you didn't redeem the codes before the service just started falling apart, they're useless to you. We're going to talk compression. So for those that don't know the ins and outs of home video making, especially on disc versions, compression is the process of taking all the video files that they want on a disc and then pressing it into the disc. Now, discs have limits. They're storage devices. They're not unlimited. And video files are massive. Anyone that's worked with video for a long period of time will know that video files take up more space than anything else. They are the biggest things possible, so they have to be compressed. When we're talking about compression in relation to these releases, we're talking about, is it being compressed to the point where the quality starts going away? And that, unfortunately, is still happening. So, for most of the shows, take for example the new gen shows, shot in HD, released in HD, mastered in HD. They come out on Blu-ray, and each of the Blu-ray discs in these sets contains 5 episodes. 5 episodes on one Blu-ray. Plenty of space. The audio and the visuals are not going to be compressed whatsoever. Blu-ray discs hold a massive amount. They hold, something like 200 gigabytes or whatever. So you can hold the entirety of those episodes. You don't have to worry about compression rates or compression artifacts. So that's great. They also include the movies on a separate disc. So I have zero problem with these, especially since these are modern HD shows. Talking about something Showa, like Ultraman Ace here, these shows have been remastered in HD. They were, of course, in HD before, or they're SD before. They've been remastered in HD. These are older shows. They were shot on film. And as you can see, there's 9 episodes on one disc of Ace. And that's fine. And the reason why is because Blu-ray discs are massive. So having 9 episodes of a show that was done in the 1970s, not a problem. You're not going to notice any compression artifacts. You're probably wondering, well, what's the problem? Why you keep talking about these like there's a big issue, and so far you're like, yeah, this is great. Well, let's talk about the recent switch to DVD. Now, there is reasons of why these are not on Blu-ray. Firstly, HD masters don't exist. Gridman has an upscale. That's closer to HD than just simply doesn't have it. 80 and the Ultraman, with the Ultraman being a co-production with Sunrise and 80 not being that popular, Tsuburaya hasn't gone forward to make a proper HD master. In fact, they have only DVD releases in Japan as well. So here's where it comes in though. DVD does not have the capacity Blu-ray has. You can get about 3 hours, just about 3 hours is pushing it, but 3 hours of video footage onto a DVD without it having compression artifacts. So if you do the math, if each episode's about 25 minutes, that's roughly 30 minutes. You divide 3 hours by 30 minutes, and you have about 6 episodes per disc, would be a nice healthy amount to avoid compression artifacts. So naturally, each of these has 8 to 9 episodes on a DVD. So I say this without trying to be harsh, but this looks like absolute crap. So it's actually hard for me to watch because they've compressed it, because they're, for whatever reason, again, the DVD sets, by the way, are not any cheaper than the Blu-rays. The Blu-rays and the DVDs are running 20 to 25. This is only 6 discs. If it was a 6-disc Blu-ray of an upscale of Ultraman 80, that'd be one thing, no problem. 6 DVDs for a 50-episode show is ridiculous. You're pushing it at 7 discs. I would have preferred 8. You gotta space out the episodes on more discs. And I know that the more discs you put into a set, the higher price the set is, which is why standard definition Blu-ray has been a popular format for niche anime labels. Mill Creek is not niche. They sell to Walmart and Target. DVD is still recognizable. That's an SD format. Blu-ray is a recognizable HD format. SD Blu-ray only makes sense for a certain demographic. That being said, if you're gonna do DVD, don't skimp out. 6 discs for a 50-episode show, I gotta question what the hell is going on, because this is just blatantly making a bad product. And then when you have a set like Ultraman Tiga, which just came out, 52 episodes and a 40-minute special is on 6 DVDs. And I can't even imagine how bad that looks. It horrifies me. So the final talking point is price. Because I hate to say this, because it sounds like I'm defending, bad releases, but I'm not doing that. You get what you pay for. Let me give an example. So when it comes to the Mill Creek Ultraman releases, whether it's a new gen Heisei show, which is 25 episodes in a movie, or it's a Showa series where it's 52 episodes, you can get these sets on Blu-ray for about $20 to $25 depending on where you're looking. And even if you're talking about the DVD releases, about 20 bucks. Let's talk about how that stacks up against the industry. The instant comparison that always will come up, Shout Factory Sentai DVDs. Now these are another series of releases I stopped buying at launch. I eventually got them all, but I stopped pre-ordering them because these were running 55 to 60 bucks. And when they started, they were running about 40, which I thought, okay, 40 to 50 for a 50 episode show, paying about $1 an episode isn't bad. And I could talk about the compression problems on these too, but part of that is Toei's fault. But they still, you know, if you crack this open, you're looking at, all right, 7 episodes a disc is pushing it, but with the shorter run times of the later shows, you can kind of squeak it out. So the thing is that overall the compression's not bad on these. The subtitles aren't great either. I probably should make a whole video about why the Sentai DVDs weren't great for many reasons. Yeah, at the end of the day, this was 50, 55, 60 bucks for one Sentai show. For that price, you could buy, you know, two Ultra series and one of the little spin-off things. So honestly, price-wise, it can't be beat. Now, comparing it to other things in the industry, let's discuss something comparable in the form of Kraken Releasing's Garo releases. Now, Kraken Releasing is an even smaller company than Mill Creek. It's a niche label, yet they're pumping out 13 episodes of Garo for roughly $20 to $25. These predated Mill Creek's Ultraman, and hey, you could get half a Garo show, 13 episodes, or an entire show of Ultra for about the same price. And then adding to that, and typically in anime, most of the time nowadays, you find things like this. Iron Blooded Orphans Volume 1 here has no bonus features. It is 12 episodes, and it cost $50. $50. However, I will add, this has a Blu-ray and DVD copy. It does have an English dub and really well-made subtitles. There are grammatical issues and typos all over these sets. They're not as noticeable if you're not trying to look for them, but they're there. Yes, this is like $50, and that's insane. So again, you could have 12 episodes of Gundam or 2 Ultra shows. So where does this come down to Mill Creek? Well, as much as Ultraman is known, and as much as people may know Ultraman from different things, how do you get people to buy these? Make them affordable. These things are in Walmart, Target, Best Buy for 20 to 25 bucks. People will kind of throw down that money for some fun. And to just kind of wrap this up, will SD Blu-ray make them cheaper for Mill Creek? They could. But this was still 40 bucks from Discotech. Discotech is a very small company, and this is an entire 48 episode show on one Blu-ray, because it's an SD. But overall, with Mill Creek, you get what you paid for. So when it comes down to it, when I'm looking at something like, say, Ultraman 80, and I felt like at 20 bucks for a 50 episode show that I didn't get my money's worth, that's something I have to think about. So this last segment, I want to just address some of the things that have been said that turned out to be false. Things that Mill Creek said and a lot of fans feel like they've been lied to, including myself, honestly. So let's talk about the first lie. In a now deleted Facebook comment from Keith Aiken, who works with Sci-Fi Japan and has spoken like he's very involved with the Mill Creek Ultraman releases, he was asked, do you know if the Gridman set will have the same subtitles as Toku HD release, or will there be a new translation? His reply, new translation. The Mill Creek team spent a lot of time on new subtitles. So here's the thing. All right, guy who works on stuff, guy who's commenting saying, oh yeah, we're doing this. Oh yeah, the Zero sets are going to be like this. He's obviously got some kind of in. Sci-Fi Japan has reported on all of the Mill Creek releases. So it makes some sense to believe him. He may have been misinformed. He may have been told they're working on new subtitles, and they weren't. He could have been told all sorts of things. If he wasn't working on it directly, he may not have known. However, there is more. I really wanted to dig into this, so I ended up finding that there was some press releases that had different things to say. So there was a press release posted to Sci-Fi Japan sourced from Mill Creek Entertainment, which I will put a screenshot of on the screen so you can read it with me. It says, Gridman the Hyper Agent will contain the stunning high-definition video. It is technically HD, but it is an upscale. For all 39 half-hour episodes with DTS HD Master Audio, not quite true, it's 2.0 I think, of all the original Japanese soundtrack plus newly translated English subtitles. That is just false. If they somehow think fixing like 6 typos, like punctuation marks, I'm not fixing misspellings, is somehow new translation, I'm sorry. then nobody who wrote that press release knows what they're talking about. Let's go a little bit further on this, and I think it does hyper-focus onto specifically, specifically like Gridman. But we got more. So a lot of the press releases had some interesting vernacular. For example, a lot of the releases for things like Ultraman 80, the Ultraman, some of these not so great releases, used the phrase audience demanding release on DVD. Correction, Soundout interjecting here. I misquoted and said that we were demanding the release on DVD. The actual press release says that we were desperate for the release on DVD, and that is under the consumer appeal section. It also claims that 80 and the Ultraman were in high definition as one of their marketing points. And why would that be a problem? Okay, it's technically true. We are, wanting these shows released. But the fact that they're telling their possible customers, because these press releases are not necessarily meant for us, they're more for retail marketing. They're saying that, oh hey, no matter the quality on this Blu-ray, the fans have been demanding it and they'll want it. And I don't know if that's necessarily the best way to approach this. And these are publicly available press releases on their website, by the way. These are not things I got sent as part of a press package. So, yeah, kind of strange. The last lie, I'm going to talk about Tiga. Tiga, boy, this is a can of worms, and I can't fully comment as I don't have the DVD set, but there's been a lot of discussion about Tiga's theme song, Take Me Higher, performed by the band V6, represented by the evil tyrannical agency in Japan known as Johnny's and Associates, having prevented the theme song from being in releases of the show. For example, it's streamed in Japan with a replacement song by the group Voyager. Tiga's theme song just has been a problem, including its lead actor as well, as he was part of V6. Now, recently, Subaru Imagination was streaming Tiga for its 25th anniversary with its theme song intact, and it was thought, hey, maybe this upcoming DVD release will have Take Me Higher intact. And while it wasn't stated in any official press release, there was a Keith Aiken comment that was now deleted that I can't find an exact screenshot of, where he essentially said that, oh, the set's also missing Tiga Final Odyssey, the movie. He said, we couldn't include Final Odyssey because of music rights, however, the series is intact. Now, there was a preview clip that came out that showed the opening for Tiga on Bill Creek's YouTube, and it was the replacement song from Voyager with subtitles, and that was pretty much a nail in the coffin for a lot of people. Now that the set has come out, I've seen multiple reports that Take Me Higher still exists in the show when it's used as a soundtrack battle track. And it doesn't exist on any of the episodes of the opening credits, replaced with the Voyager song, except for episode 3. So who the heck knows what was going on there? And honestly, we were never promised Take Me Higher from an official Mill Creek press release, like we were promised new subtitles from Gridman. But honestly, I feel like, whatever Keith Aiken is telling us at this point, it seems like it's not lining up. And the fact he's deleted these comments says to me that he is either misinformed or he misspoke and spoke too soon on something and doesn't want people looking it back up. And that's why I wanted to present it here. I'm not saying that Keith Aiken is a liar. I'm not saying anything about him. I don't know this person. But I do know that a lot of fans were looking to his comments for an idea of how these releases are going to be handled, and it seems like we've been let down. Now, I will point out one thing with Tiga. The press release for Tiga, again, on Mill Creek's official website, for the Tiga DVD set, says that Tiga is available for the first time in high definition. That's a blatant lie, because you cannot have a high definition DVD unless it's an HD DVD, and those have been dead for more than a decade. That concludes this segment on the lies. So in conclusion, where do we stand? For me, personally, I didn't pre-order the Tiga DVD set. And that was because of the Gridman release. I wanted to wait it out. I already had the Ultraman and 80 on order. I didn't feel like canceling them. I was like, alright, whatever, I'll just get them. But I did hesitate on ordering Tiga. Did not order Dyna. Will probably not pre-order Gaia. I don't want to say stop supporting Mill Creek's releases. But I do want to say that if you don't feel like you're getting your money's worth, and you are not enjoying spending your money on these, don't do it. It is good to have legal tokusatsu releases. But if they start slipping in quality and you feel like you're not getting your money's worth, don't waste your money on it just because it's a legal tokusatsu release. Your own finances and your own buying choices are your own. And you're not a lesser of a fan if you don't buy them because you're not happy with how they're doing it. This is your personal choice. Just like it's my personal choice. I will likely go back and pick up Tiga, Dyna, and Gaia when they go on sale. Because personally for me, I would still like to own physical releases of these shows, and I do want to show that I'm interested in these releases, but I don't want to give Mill Creek the satisfaction that they can say we're demanding these releases and that we'll just buy them regardless out of habit. So what I'm not trying to tell you what to do with your money, if you want to keep supporting these and make sure to get them right when they come out so they keep going, that's fine. Companies, as much as we outrage on the internet or tweet about it, they'll listen when the money starts drying up. So take that as you will. Mill Creek is likely not going to lose the Ultraman license. Don't be afraid that the releases are going to go away. Just be afraid that they're going to continue to either dip in quality or stay at the same pace of overly compressed DVDs. It's just a shame that we went from everyone was super excited that there was Ultraman like every other month to just no one likes it anymore and everyone hates these releases. And Gridman was the breaking point. And you can let me know in the comments below what you think of this. I hope that I presented kind of a fair argument and a fair presentation, and if I have missed something, please let me know. I do not mind. Either hit me up here or on Twitter at Soundout12. But that's it for this video. If you enjoyed it, please leave a like. Hit the subscribe button and the notification bell to see future uploads on this channel. All kinds of stuff brewing, different kinds of things. And check out Hero Club at hero-club.com. And until next time, this is Soundout saying goodbye.